Blessing to you guys. This video concerns the best ever. I was watching a video in which a gentleman explained why Roy Jones Jr. was to him the best ever. And it's interesting. A lot of people think the best ever for some reason is the greatest of all time, or the GOAT. I never thought that. I always thought the greatest of all time had to do with fan perception of a fighter. But TBE has to do with the literal boxing facts. When you look at the career of a fighter in the ring, when you look at their skill set, if they're all-around fighter, complete skill set, etc., that would show that they're a better boxer than another guy, hence the best ever. Nonetheless, this guy, he said that he thought Roy Jones Jr. was the best ever that he had seen. I think he means the greatest of all time, possibly. And it's fair enough, because it's based on what you've seen of the fighter and what you know of a fighter, so I can understand that. And he went on to talk about the flaws that Roy had, defensively especially, and then he talked about the explosiveness, the speed, and all the flamboyance, the flashiness that Roy had, the entertainment factor, and why he thought that Roy was to him the greatest ever, the GOAT. I mean, Roy in his prime really looked untouchable, unbeatable. You know, the song Can't Be Touched, and the other song You Must Have Forgot. You know, those two songs are really dope. And Roy is, of course, a fan favorite amongst fans all over the world. Roy Jones Jr. really sparked our minds, you know, had us think of boxing in a totally different sphere. I remember I used to throw that untelegraphed jab that Roy used to throw. It was beautiful. He was an offensive master. Defensively, not so great. Used a lot of spacing. But what I want to talk about is Floyd Mayweather TBE. Now, Mr. TBE, as he calls himself, which deservedly he should call himself, Mr. TBE is 50-0. Now, clearly, Wenyan Menyothan has surpassed that already. I think it's in his 51st or 52nd fight. I think his 50 is whatever defense over 8 years as his WBC belt. Because Floyd Mayweather has had multiple belts, multiple weight classes, multiple defenses, multiple unbeaten, titles in multiple weight classes simultaneously, and so on and so on. Floyd's career is just highly decorated and just impressive. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. Actually, I'm going to talk about an interview Floyd Mayweather had with GQ, in which he spoke on life lessons. And I thought that this was more interesting and something which I want to speak with you guys about, because I think this is something worth talking about. Floyd said, "Throughout my family trials and tribulations, mother on drugs, father going to prison, I always tried to stay positive. Thanks to boxing, I was able to put my parents in a situation where they could live a great life and not have to do things they had done in the past. And that was all because my dad taught me an art, and I was able to take it to the next level. Sugar Ray Robinson calls boxing an art, painting a picture, and Floyd would echo those sentiments, I guess passed down to him through his uncle, Roger Mayweather, and his father, Sr. They will now paraphrase. In other words, if you believe in your own ability and have the right motivation, you can use adversity to bring the best out of yourself. And I'll say, keeping things positive, always looking for a positive spin on things, helps to lift you out of your situation, which can always be temporal. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's your health, being positive and always seeing the situation as temporal, not something permanent, and never worship the situation. I know a lot of people who keep on harping on their problem, and they just stay in that loop on their problem, whether it's their pains or whatever, and they talk about it, and they don't realize they're worshiping the ill. It's supposed to be temporal. You have to look beyond that and picture yourself without having that adversity, without having that problem. And when you can picture yourself there, you work towards that. Even though you have the problems that you're struggling through, you're looking for when those problems end, because you're looking beyond those things. And that's a mindset you have to have. That's what got me out of my stomach problems. I knew one day I was going to get out of it, and I was looking for a way out. Floyd Mayweather says, "When I look back on the 1996 Olympics, where I lost in a controversial decision. I am happy I received a bronze medal. I loved it. That is what God wanted. He will have bigger plans for me. That's why I'm where I'm at. In the boxing ring, when it's all on the line, it only counts when it's for the money. In other words, turn a setback into a positive. By acknowledging and rationalizing disappointment, you can move on and set new goals. And it's very true. Every failure is actually a stepping stone towards success. I would also like to paraphrase. Every trial and tribulation is to build you and prepare you for the great glory that is to come after. And that glory will be also taxing, and it will also be difficult. It's not all going to be roses. So remember that. Floyd Mayweather says, whenever I was in a tough fight, I always remember to keep my composure, to stick to the game plan. My opponent could be 3-4 rounds ahead. We still got 8. 9 more to go. I'll get you. No matter what, I'll get you. In other words, when you're under pressure, and the emotional overreaction is never helpful. By staying calm and refusing to panic, you'll perform better. And so true. And these are things that Floyd took to, and you notice, like, most boxers, when they're against the ropes especially, and they're fighting off the ropes, you see them start to flail punches, especially if they start to get tagged. They start to flail punches back, and that's how they get knocked out. Whereas Floyd would keep his composure. He gets tagged, he would smile, he would try to cover up. If that doesn't work, he would try something else, and he would adapt to whatever the tribulation is by keeping his head cool, keeping his composure, paying attention to the problem, and looking for a solution to it. And that's how he overcame most of the time. In other words, live in the moment, always focus on the task at hand, and don't forget, keep your composure. All right? Usually in most difficult situations, that's when you need to be calm so that you can actually respond to them quickly and adequately. Floyd Mayweather says, I'm the biggest attraction of all time, but there are a lot of people behind the scenes that don't get enough credit. They make sure everything's comfortable for me to perform the way I do. In other words, be it friends or family, surround yourself with good people. To be the best, you need the best team. And I find this really awesome to talk about when we talk about Floyd Mayweather. This is what we're talking about. And I think these are secrets because there are a lot of fantastic talent out there, a lot of fantastic boxers out there, but very few who had all those prerequisites, the right people supporting them in a positive atmosphere, not people stealing from them and putting them in situations they shouldn't be in. And so one of the things I think that allowed Floyd Mayweather to be the best ever, or the best he could possibly be, was the people around him. And he got rid of the people who were not positive enough. And also he had a positive mindset. He kept himself focused at the task at hand and kept his composure even through difficult situations. And he was able to turn negatives into positives. And he always looked at certain situations as temporal and not permanent. So these are really good attributes and life lessons that Floyd Mayweather integrated into his career. And I think these are things that actually allowed him to be the best ever. All right, guys. You guys have a good one.